But the measures that you mentioned as having been at the base of a success, removing ledger fees, having no minimum balances, no restriction on withdrawals.
Do ask your question.
No restriction on withdrawals. Those are the things which a lot of commercial bankers will say just will not work. Yeah. There is a minimum amount that you require on a balance in order for the account to operate successfully, and you need ledger fees to meet your costs. So other bankers will say, no, it doesn't work. So I'm just curious how it has worked for you when most other bankers will say it doesn't work.
Okay, so we will, not now, we'll collect a few, but James, there's a question for you on how does the economics work when you do all the good things that you did. Is that a fair summary? Let's walk up there. Any further questions on the left? I see a lady there are two ladies behind each other. Why don't you start, ma'am, and then go ahead.
Thank you for all of you for the presentation. I'm Fatma from Sudan. I'm working for the Central Bank of Sudan. My question is directed to the governor. You mentioned that one of the means that enable you to double the access to financial inclusion is you adopt an effective monetary policy. I would like to know the tools and measures that you adopted on both supply and demand side to maintain your goal. Thank you very much.
Okay, Governor, question on financial inclusion and monetary policy.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Temitope Akinfarei from the Central Bank of Nigeria. My question is actually related to the last speaker and is directed to the Governor of the Central Bank of Tanzania. Sir, I would like you to share a bit more light on the implementation of adopting financial inclusion as one of the strategic pillars of the bank and how that has impacted the implementation of your national strategy. Thank you.
Okay, a second question for you, Governor. We'll take one from the back on the right, my right. Is there a question? I see here another lady. Please, go ahead. Go ahead, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Diane Jocelyn Bizimana. I work in the Central Bank of Burundi. My question goes straight to Dr. Alfred. As we are inspiring innovation, you said that you selected Tanzania, Egypt, Mexico, Indonesia, and Kenya. So what inspires you to go to those countries and not to others? Thank you.
Okay, I'll give you time to think about that. James, we start with you and the question from the gentleman around how does a business work when you do all these helpful things to customers?
Thank you very much. As we said earlier, there was a lot of innovation on the business model. And what we sought was a business model that focused on volume as opposed to margin. And if you all those issues are related to margin as opposed to volume. And then the use of technology to leverage on cost reduction, the unit cost, such that to a great extent you are. But let me give you the data. Despite equity really moving that, what it has done, it has grown the customer base to slightly over 10 million. But if you look for the last 4 years, in the Kenyan banking industry competition, we have been ranked the bank with the lowest charges for 4 consecutive years in all the product range. But at the same time, we are ranked worldwide as the bank with the highest efficiency in return, number 4 on return on assets, and number 8 on return on equity. So it's more of efficiency by using technology to support that model.
So in your case, no trade-off between a value proposition to the consumer and the financial performance of the institution?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Governor, there were 2 questions for you on the link, financial inclusion, monetary policy, and then more detail on the adoption of the national strategy.
Yeah, in Tanzania, we are still using more or less management of aggregate, monetary aggregates for monetary policy. But it happens to be the case that out of every 10 shillings that we issue, 60 is actually being held outside of the banking system. Only 40, which becomes the base for which you try to use your instruments to effectively be able to control the whole of the 100%. So it was very, very clear that in order seriously to be effective, also as a central bank, you need to bring in a lot more of what is outside of that system so that you can effectively be able to do monetary policy effectively. So I mentioned that partly because we had lots of debates at some point whether, this is the area where the central bank really needs to go into. It was very clear that apart from the national goal, it was also, I think, a good case, a good business case for a central bank. So that's partly how we tried to link the two. Now, for the national financial inclusion framework, it became also very clear that while, in gatherings like AFI, you have all the key stakeholders, involved, it was important also to bring all the key stakeholders at the national level so that you could have a coordinated action plan to reach this goal. Okay. So the national framework, first and foremost, is really a coordination instrument to make sure that not only the policy side is around the table, but also the business side is around the table, and that together we can actually make the journey to achieve the targets.
Thank you, Governor Alfred. Really, really briefly, why some countries and not others?
Yeah, first of all, there are only a limited number of seats, apparently. But what I want to say really is we were looking for innovators who had already shown the way at that point in time. So Philippines, Mexico, Kenya were already in the process to document their success stories. And from Thailand, we got a high-level support as well as the host country offer at that point in time. That was the reason.
Okay. So I'm being urged to bring this to a closure. So no long summaries. What we will do instead, in the age of innovation and social media, I will all ask you to share one message, Twitter size, 140 characters, one message of what you would like the audience to take away from your innovation journey. Stephen, I start with you this time, do it the other way. One message, 140 characters. What do you want the audience to take away?
Don't be afraid to fail, experiment, experiment, experiment.
Okay. Ready to fail and experiment. Learn fast, fail fast. Alfred?
Don't feel uncomfortable when you, at the beginning of the idea, the invention, don't know what is going to be the result at the end of the day.
Okay, embrace uncertainty. James?
Innovations are taken to scale through collaborations, and particularly of the ecosystem.
Okay, collaboration ecosystem. Governor Ndulu.
Be brave to allow space for innovation.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me switch this.
Thank you very much. The next session is on Mozambique. The theme, under the theme, Financial Inclusion in Mozambique, Experience and Main Challenges. E tenho, pois, a honra de convidar o Sr. Governador do Banco de Moçambique,